We are back. The Premier League is back. Chelsea are back. Chelsea versus Newcastle. Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel and welcome to my Chelsea versus Newcastle match preview. It's been 2 weeks since we've done a match preview, and for that reason, I think we should have a little celebration. How can we do that? Well, let's hit the like button. I just had to bring some YouTube cringe to the party. Hit the like button if you enjoy the match previews. Today, we're going to go through my predicted Newcastle lineup. We're going to go through my predicted Chelsea lineup. Going to take a look at the key battles, but before we do that, I've made a couple of medical discoveries. Sadly, one of them is quite negative. I've actually torn a ligament in my forearm, which is a bit of a nightmare. I've torn a ligament once before in my forearm from playing tennis. I know that you lot are thinking some other silly nonsense, but we won't go into any of that. And I've done pretty much the same thing again. It's agony, actually, on my right arm right now, which is a real pain in the arm. Literally, I was going to say something else then, but it would have been pointless, really. The second thing is my voice has been perfectly fine for 2 bloody weeks, and that's about to change again. And I've realised that my throat actually takes a battering from following Chelsea Football Club. We got Newcastle at home, Ajax away, and Burnley away in the space of 7 days. Now, if that isn't proper football fixtures and following your club, then I don't know what is. And just to clarify, you don't need to go to Stamford Bridge to be a proper Chelsea fan. I can't be asked to buy into any of that rubbish, but I will be going to all 3. So my voice probably will die by the end of next week. I predict that my Burnley 6 Things We Learnt video, hopefully it's bloody positive, but maybe by then I'll have lost my voice. But today, Newcastle, it's going to be a tough one, this one. We cannot underestimate Newcastle United. Steve Bruce has got them pretty well organised against the big teams, which is a bit of a problem because Chelsea are one of the big teams. Their only wins this season have came against Spurs and Manchester United. I predicted them to beat United because, well, it doesn't take a genius to think that one was going to happen. But Newcastle were very good. Let's not focus on United not being so good, and let's focus a little bit on tomorrow's opponents and what they do so well. So one thing that Newcastle are very good at, and sometimes it works the other way, we'll go into that as well, but they're very good at soaking up the pressure. They play with like a 5-4-1, which is a pretty standard rigid formation, this one. They go with 3 centre-backs, and then they kind of got the wing-backs. You've got Willems, you've also got DeAndre Yedlin, both very pacey and very good going forward. So that causes opposition teams some problems, and it also helps them when, for example, Man United, they're playing against a team that likes to counter. Chelsea don't necessarily like to counter, but if we wanted to, we've got the kind of players that could do that. With Newcastle setting up with the 5 at the back, it will make it quite difficult to break down. However, sometimes it falls apart, and if you watch Newcastle's game against Leicester, as soon as they had one sending off, they were defensively shambolic. So if we can try and target one of their defenders out of a game with some of our creative players, then maybe Chelsea can find an inlet that way, but we won't focus on trying to get players sent off. That's not a way to tactically go about winning a football match unless you've got Diego Costa on your team, which sadly we don't have, but it doesn't matter. We've got Tammy Abraham instead. He's bloody brilliant. So if we look at some of Newcastle's key players, Jamal Lascelles is a very, very good centre-back on his day. Fabian Schär also is actually a threat going forward as well as being a good defender. And Paul Dummett is just hard, isn't he really? Dubravka's also a very underrated goalkeeper. So Newcastle, they've only really done well a couple of times this season. The rest of the time, they've not looked very good at all. When I look at this Newcastle team, and I'm not just coming at this with bias because I actually quite like Newcastle United, to be fair. Don't get any funny ideas. I don't support them. I dislike a few teams and I like a few others. And Newcastle are one of the teams that I like. So this isn't coming from a point of bias. I just look at individuals within their team, and when they do get their tactics correct, they're a very, very difficult team to beat. So if we look as well at DeAndre Yedlin and also Jetro Willems, not Williams, sorry. In these 2 players, I don't see players that are that great defensively, but I do see attacking outlets that Newcastle could use to get the better of whoever's playing in the 2 fullback positions, and that's a little hint. I think we're going to play 4 at the back tomorrow. As for the midfielders, you got the 2 Longstaff brothers who played together for the first time in that game against Manchester United. Matty Longstaff got the winning goal past David De Gea. It was a very good moment for the lad. Obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm not a Newcastle fan, but I was happy for him. Do you know what I mean? It is sometimes okay to be happy for a player who plays for another team. As an individual, great moment to see. playing alongside his brother, gets the winning goal against United. Gonna need to watch out for these two. They're very good midfielders, and it's quite funny how after the game, pundits were turning around saying United should buy them both. United should just buy everyone because their current team isn't good enough. But this video isn't about them. This is Chelsea and Newcastle. They're gonna probably play with 4 in the midfield, with Miguel Almiron, the Paraguayan, also playing, and Alan Saint-Maximin. I can never say this bloke's name. Which isn't good if I see myself in the future as a football commentator. It's not allowed to get it wrong. Let me just look at what it is. So, his name is Alan Saint-Maximin. That isn't that hard. I don't know why I butchered it. But he's a very quick player. Chelsea are going to need to keep an eye on him, and the chances are Newcastle go with big man Joe Linton up front, or alternatively, if they really want to take and make the most of Chelsea's poor defensive marking from set pieces, they could also throw Andy Carroll into the mix, which would definitely cause Chelsea some problems. I think he's definitely had his best years, but Andy Carroll, over the years, has actually given Chelsea some issues, and he is the kind of player that could be used as a target man for Newcastle if they're looking to exploit Chelsea's weaknesses, which is definitely defending set pieces. However, let's take a look at my Chelsea lineup for how I think we're going to start against Newcastle. And this is obviously based off of the fact we got no Rudiger. He's actually back training outside, doing physical activities on the grass, which is great, but he's not going to be fit for this one. Christensen picked up a hamstring injury for Denmark on international duty, so he's not going to be back for at least 2 weeks. So no Christensen, which means that we're stuck with playing 2 in the centre-back positions, which is kind of frustrating. Unless we play both Azpilicueta and Reece James, but I feel as though we might see one of them and then the other one in the game against Ajax on Wednesday. So as you can see here, we've got Alonso at left back because Emerson is expected to return against Ajax, but not expected to return against Newcastle. So I've gone with Alonso at left back, and I'm going to stick Reece James as the right back for this one. It could very easily be Azpilicueta, but I think this game sets up quite nicely for Reece James to play in the right back role, and then Azpilicueta comes in for that more experience for a very important match in the European competition against Ajax on Wednesday night. So that kind of rotation is something that we could start to see from Frank Lampard's Chelsea moving forward as the games come through thick and fast towards Christmas. So moving forward, I've got obviously 5 players on the pitch. Kepa's in goal, got to give him a little mention. We did forget to say hello. But the 2 in the pivot, I've gone with Jorginho, who's obviously been very important for us in recent weeks. He stepped up to the plate, he's doing a lot of work defensively, and as we always say, it's kind of like, if you don't understand what Jorginho does, just watch him for the whole game and you'll understand the entire game. He's that kind of player. Shout out to Paddy in my Discord server, who actually mentioned that off of a previous quote from another manager, but we won't worry about that. I think it fits perfectly for Jorginho. He is the anchor man, he's the man who kind of ties everything together between the defence and the attack for Chelsea. So Jorginho's in there, and I've put him alongside Mateo Kovacic. Kovacic came off for Croatia in their game against Wales, which again was an absolute nightmare, and I do want to give an honourable shout, and he very easily could start alongside Jorginho, to Ross Barkley. I was quite tough on Ross before the game, I was quite tough on Gareth Southgate. I gave Ross Barkley a tough time, that's the point that we're trying to get to here, and Ross was absolutely brilliant for England. And the frustrating thing is, I think I'm quite within my rights to have said that maybe Ross Barkley didn't deserve to start. I'm more than happy to eat a little slice of humble pie, or a big slice of humble pie, in saying that Ross was very good for England, and if he can show that form for Chelsea, then we've got a player that we can be excited about. But the sad reality is, he doesn't show it often enough, and I don't know if that's a confidence issue, or if it's just the fact that maybe Ross and Chelsea aren't as good of a fit as Ross and England are. I don't really know. But for this one, and Ross Barkley positionally sometimes tends to drift if he's playing in that pivot, so I think in terms of making sure we're solid and compact in the middle of the park, against Newcastle, who like to stack out the middle, I think Kovacic should be a more disciplined option for this game. Moving in to the 4 attackers. Now, I call it 4 attackers. We've got a striker, left winger, right winger, and a central attacking midfielder. I've gone with Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, Willian, and Tammy Abraham. And obviously people are saying like, Christian Pulisic, when's he gonna play? I will address it again. Willian's been playing so well. He's had a brilliant recent 5 games for Chelsea. You can't really take him out of the team. We also have to mention Christian Pulisic didn't have the best international break for the USA. He came off after 60 odd minutes in that game against Canada. They actually lost the match, and Pulisic was very evidently quite upset on the touchline. Things aren't going well for him at the moment, and I always bring it back to this mentality issue with this dealing with adversity thing. And with Pulisic, I don't think it's an issue, but what could become an issue is if this pressure that is being put on his shoulders right now continues to build. The man's still very young. He's still in this bracket of young players. And after the international break from the USA, it would be nice almost, but nice isn't a word that really goes down very well in football. It would be nice for Frank Lampard to just say, go on Christian, show us what you've got, prove yourself, and then maybe he bags a goal and an assist against Newcastle and he can forget that anything's ever happened in recent weeks. I just don't think Frank's that kind of manager. I don't think he's going to do it just to say like, this is your shot, and then, well, if Christian doesn't have a good game against Newcastle, we're all kind of looking at it as a tactical failure from Frank Lampard, and people start to lose faith in him even more. So I expect him to get a chance off the bench again with Willian to start and Callum Hudson-Odoi. This man, you saw him for England under-21s against Austria, flipping ridiculous. He scored one volley and then he ran the length of the pitch. People are still saying like, oh, what has he done to deserve 100 grand a week? Becoming a little bit self-explanatory, to be honest. Since he's come back from injury, he's got a goal or an assist in every game he's played, be it for Chelsea, the development squad, or for England under-21s. It's looking good. Callum's the real deal. And I think that now he's fully fit, we're definitely going to have to see him start in every game. He's one of those players that can change the game for Chelsea the way that Eden Hazard used to do, which I have to bring him up because he scored his first goal for Chelsea against Newcastle. So Hudson-Odoi, I think he's going to start this one on the left with Mason Mount. He's in such great form and he's now had more England call-ups again now, and he played for England the other week. The man's been shortlisted for the Golden Boy Awards, and I actually put it on my Instagram story, and if you want to go and vote, if you still can, I'll leave a link in the description. Let's get Mason Mount the Golden Boy. He deserves it. So everyone go and click the link in the description and vote for Mason Mount. He's going to start, and Tammy Abraham, Premier League top goal scorer, that's a no-brainer as well. I do want to give an honourable mention though to both Michy and Olivier Giroud, who had very good international breaks for both Belgium and France respectively. So we've got a good bunch of strikers right now who are in good form for Chelsea, which is only a positive moving forward, particularly as we're literally only probably one swig of a cup of tea away from another bloody injury. Speaking of the devil, delightful. So where do I think the game is going to be won for Chelsea in this one? I think that it's very important that we're disciplined in the middle of the park. Newcastle like to pack out the middle, and I think that with Jorginho and Kovacic, with no N'Golo Kante because he's injured again, which is going to be a long-term issue for Chelsea I think this year, those two in the middle are going to be very, very key from a positional sense and a transitional sense in this game. And I think that if we can gain control of the middle, Mason Mount might have to come back a little bit to drop deeper in order to win the ball back and carry it forward for Chelsea. If we control the middle of the park, I think we'll win this game. I also feel as though if we can get the ball out to Hudson-Odoi, we've got that player that can just come up with this moment of magic to make a difference. And I did predict in my Premier League predictions video, link in the description to that. Also, if you haven't yet seen it or a card on the screen, I did predict a 2-0 Chelsea win back at Stamford Bridge. Sellout crowd, as it always is. Everyone's excited due to this Frank Lampard revolution, and my arm, flipping hell, this is getting ridiculous. Every time I move my hand, oh. If you see me tomorrow, I'll be drinking pints with my left hand, so Cock Tavern before the game. See you guys in there. Newcastle have got some good players and I'm looking forward to the occasion. Newcastle fans are always very good. I would put them in the elite bracket of Premier League away fans. So that's going to be exciting as well. It should be a good day. The sun's going to be out. Hopefully it's going to be a blue day tomorrow. Hopefully Chelsea can pick up the 3 points. Massive 7 days of football now for Chelsea. And a massive 7 days here on this YouTube channel. We're going to have match vlogs from Newcastle, from Ajax away, from Burnley away. 6 things we learnt, match previews, all of it is going to be out here. So if you're not yet subscribed to the George Benson football channel, you're missing out. I'm not going to have any like targets for subscriber numbers that we want to hit, but it would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be amazing, really, if we could hit 100,000 by Christmas. I don't know if we can do that. The only way it's going to happen is if you guys that aren't subscribed, hit the button, hit the bell notifications, tell your mates if they just like listening to football talk. Tell your mates if they're Chelsea fans and they don't know what to do with themselves on a daily basis. I don't know, I'm becoming a beg here, aren't I? I'm sorry. You get the point. But anyway, that's been my match preview. Chelsea-Newcastle tomorrow. As I said, I'll probably be in the Cock Tavern having a couple of bevies before the game. Maybe even after the game as well, if it's a positive result. If we don't win and it's a poor performance, I like to just go home and cry. I don't cry, but I did against Barcelona, and I did against Man United in the final. Just killed the vibe, haven't I? I'll catch you guys later. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow from Stamford Bridge. See you later.